What if this offseason's eerie quiet isn't the calm before a championship storm but the chilling silence of a dynasty teetering on the edge of collapse? Can you feel that unnerving stillness settling over Chase Center, like the final heartbeat before a plunge into the unknown? Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where every rumor, every untold whisper, and every strategic maneuver is dissected with the passion of a fan who's lived every dribble and felt every victory and defeat in their bones. As free agency, clock ticks down with the relentlessness of a metronome set to critical. One name hangs over Dub Nation like a specter, Al Horford. At 38, he's more than just another veteran. He's a walking blueprint of basketball acumen, a defender whose IQ reads like war and peace, and a floor-spacing big man whose presence could restore the Warriors' interior balance, just when age and attrition have started to show their teeth. Yet here we are, the last franchise in basketball purgatory, unclaimed and uncommitted, while every other contender has sharpened their roster edges. If Horford chooses retirement or loyalty to Boston, it won't just be a lost opportunity. It will be a seismic blow to a franchise that has built its modern legend on daring gambles and bold, transformative signings. And what then? The whispers from insiders like Shams Charania suggest that the alternative names on the market are uninspiring at best of da. Stark reminder of how far Golden State has fallen from the free agent magnet they once were. Into that void steps Thomas Bryant, a 27-year-old whose name doesn't ignite social media. Firestorms, but whose efficiency near the rim and quietly improving three-point stroke make him a pragmatic, low-risk, high-reward chess piece. Picture this: Draymond Green's defensive whirlwind, morphing into a master conductor of chaos around Bryant's poised footwork and touch scoring. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson raining threes that pull defenses out to the perimeter, carving lanes for Bryant's cuts to the basket, a symphony of precision and grit that could disguise the holes in Golden State's armor. But is this a masterstroke of strategic patience, or merely a bandage on a hemorrhaging roster? Are we witnessing the savvy of a front office deliberately rebuilding a bruised interior, or the timidity of executives too fearful to swing for the stars they once lured to the Bay? Because let's be honest, no one expected the Warriors to chase future Hall of Famers into retirement negotiations anymore. That was the glory era. Now the question is whether the legacy of Splash Brothers' glory will prove magnetic enough to convince an aging centerpiece to don blue and gold one more time, or whether our champions will be left scavenging on the second tier of available talent. Meanwhile, the shadows lengthen over the young core that was supposed to torch fear into opponents' hearts. Jonathan Kuminga's flashes of raw athleticism and explosive energy, electric in spurts but untested in the crucible of playoff desperation. Moses Moody's silky jumper, a flicker of promise that begs the question: can he sustain that confidence when every possession feels like a make-or-break verdict? And Kevin Looney, the unsung glue guy whose grit anchors Golden State's rotations, can he shoulder the weight of an entire season's physical grind with cap-strained minutes? Even Chris Paul's veteran savvy, a potential surgical tool Kerr could employ in late-game wrinkles, feels like a Hail Mary relying on a knee that's been through the wars and a prime that's long retreated into memory lanes. In the locker room, the rumors crackle like static. Steve Kerr's calm exterior belies a coach torn between loyalty to a dynasty's veterans and the cold calculus of a rebuilding blueprint. Does he double down on the culture that seized 5 straight finals appearances, or does he embrace a transitional era of tough love and development, trusting inexperienced legs to rise in time? And on the business side, the cap sheet reads like a puzzle box. Could a blockbuster trade still emerge to shake free a star willing to bet on the chase for a 4th ring? Or will salary constraints and risk aversion leave us stranded in a middling no man's land? As Dub Nation holds its collective breath, every social media poll and every speculative podcast feels like a lifeline tossed into our anxieties. Will Bob Myers' successor possess the audacity to trade draft capital for a prove-it star, or will caution dictate our fate, condemning us to watch rival dynasties assemble their arsenals while our own spark flickers. In a league where legacies burn brightest under the crucible of risk, this brand new under-the-radar plan could either be the genesis of a stealth resurgence or the final curtain call on an era defined by fearless ambition. Think back to that fateful night in Oakland when "We Believe" echoed through the Coliseum, or the tearful embrace after downing LeBron in the finals. Those weren't moments born of safety. They were forged in the furnace of audacity. So, I ask you now, is Thomas Bryant the uncelebrated keystone to our next dynasty, or a meek substitute for the championship DNA we once commanded? Can the whispers of low-key signings and G League wonder kids synthesize into a true contender, or are we priming ourselves for another season of what-ifs and close-but-no-six heartbreak? The offseason's hush is deafening, and the uncertainty is suffocating. But remember this, the heart of Dub Nation has never been measured by the volume of free agent sirens. It's defined by an unbreakable faith that greatness can be reclaimed through innovation, grit, and the unyielding will to defy expectations. Now it's on you, no fluff, no sugarcoat. Drop your rawest takes below. Are we staring at the blueprint for a stealth dynasty reborn, or the final gasps of a storied empire gasping for one last breath? I'll be in the comments, riding every high and low with you, because through every triumph and trial, Warriors News Fan Report is where Dub Nation's soul roars the loudest. If you're sitting there with that pit in your stomach because the Warriors all season feels like a high-wire act without a safety net, holler at me right now, because this isn't just a roster update. It's a crossroads where legends meet. Uncertainty and every heartbeat echoes like the roar of a Chase Center crowd on a Game 7 night. We're not dealing in whispers anymore. We're staring down the barrel of a season that could rewrite Golden State's story forever. The silence that's hung over this offseason? It's more than just a strategy, it's a pressure cooker poised to blow. And the question burning, harder than any Curry triple is, will this quiet before the storm crown us champions again or crumble the foundation built on Splash Brothers' glory? Look, the prospect of missing out on Al Horford doesn't just sting, it chills the marrow. Because we're not talking about a filler piece. We're talking about a guardian of championship DNA, a walking chess piece who could have slotted perfectly alongside Draymond's defensive genius and bolstered that front court where age and attrition have gnawed away at the Warriors' interior. Muscle. And now, with Horford hanging in that eerie limbo between Boston loyalty and the twilight of his career, the front office's pivot to Thomas Bryant feels like a gamble played on hard pragmatism solid on paper, but lacking that thunderbolt of impact that could electrify the Chase Center and send challengers scrambling. Bryant's reliability, sure, might patch some cracks, but when you measure that against the legacy of the Warriors, who galloped through 5 straight finals, who took down Titans with chemistry as sharp as a surgeon's blade, it feels like we're at a moment of reckoning. The same grind that made Bryant effective in Indiana last year might just barely keep the Warriors afloat here. But can it fuel the blaze that this championship core needs to fuel if it's going to chase down that elusive 4th ring in this twilight of greatness? You have to ask yourself, is this prudence or is it playing not to lose? Because there's a jagged edge to this narrative. Steph Curry's brilliance can carry this team, but legends aren't just penned in moments of pure shine. They're born in battles with doubt, fatigue, and the relentless march of time. And here, the clock is both friend and foe. Draymond Green, still the emotional heartbeat and chaos conductor of the group, is burning to rally, but even his fire can't cover every flaw, especially when fresh bodies like Moody and Kuminga haven't yet claimed their seat at the table of trust and playoff intensity. The whispers from the locker room crackle like static. Kerr's voice is steady, but behind that calm is a coach weighing heavy truth how to coax brilliance from a roster that suddenly looks more patchwork than powerhouse. The trade rumors swirling around Wiggins, the uncertainty over whether the team can afford to tether their future on cap space stretched thinner than ever. These aren't just sidebars. They're the heartbeat of a franchise that has to evolve or risk fading. into the backdrop of NBA dynasties past. And what about the young core? Kuminga's flashes of promise are raw and electric, but can he wield the enormous weight of expectations? Moody's rookie splash was a flicker. Can it morph into a flame? Because unless those pieces click, this team's so-called minor league plan feels like a Band-Aid slapped on a hemorrhage. So when the Warriors stand on this precipice face, with either leading into the ghosts of past glories or embracing an uncertain rebuild cloaked in savvy but unsexy maneuvers, it's the soul of Dub Nation that's trembling. We've reveled in the resonance of splash threes dropping in rhythm, in Draymond turning defensive chaos into art, and in Steph's relentless will to rewrite time itself on a basketball court. But now, the question is raw and brutal. Can those sparks still embolden this squad, or is the silence indicative of a dynasty running out of gas, its star power dimming in the harsh NBA spotlight? As a lifer who bled blue and gold through every soul-crushing defeat, every ecstatic parade, every we believe miracle, and every draft pick celebrated like the second coming, I can feel the tectonic plates shifting beneath us. This offseason is no longer a lull. It's the roar before a seismic shift that might redraw the very map of the Warriors' future. The FOMO is real, yes, but beneath it all simmers a burning belief that even at their most vulnerable, the Warriors have never been just a team, but a culture, a brotherhood, a force that refuses to be caged by age, injury, or doubt. Whether Horford dons the blue and gold or fades quietly into legend, whether Bryant becomes an unsung hero or a reminder of what might have been, Golden State's path will be forged not in safe choices, but in the furnace of risk and relentless ambition. And let's not forget the depth chart beyond the headlines. Kevin Looney's grit remains a steady anchor. But can he hold off the physical onslaught of younger, hungrier bigs in a league obsessed with youth and versatility? Chris Paul's savvy veteran presence is a tool. Kerr could reel like a scalpel assuming Paul's knee holds up under the grind. But is his prime already a ghost of past brilliance? Meanwhile, the two-way contracts and G League standouts are auditioning night after night, desperate for a chance to prove that their hustle can translate to playoff heroics. Each name on the roster feels like a question mark written in indelible ink, promising, yet perilous. And behind the scenes, the front office's chessboard stretches into the summer beyond free agency. What if a blockbuster trade finally materializes? Could the whispered interest in swapping draft capital for a proven star turn into the bolt of lightning this squad needs? Or will cap constraints and reluctance to mortgage the future leave us stranded in a stale equilibrium? The tension is unbearable because every decision now carries the weight of history. Will Bob Myers' successor show the guts to swing for the fences, or will caution reign supreme? Can Steve Kerr adapt his genius to a roster that may lack the seamless chemistry of the past decade? As we hurtle toward training camp, every fan tweet, every mock proposal, every speculative podcast feels like a lifeline thrown into the abyss of uncertainty. So this is more than talk. This is the battle cry of a fan base that's tasted greatness and refuses to settle for mediocrity. Now it's your turn, no fluff, no filter, no holding back. Drop your hottest, rawest take below. Is this off-season? The last breath of a dynasty, or the quiet before the thunderers rise? I'll be in the comments, heart pounding, ready to go toe-to-toe with every passionate, broken, hopeful, fevered voice in the greatest fan base in the world. This is Warriors News Fan Report, where the pulse of Dub Nation never quits. We stand on the edge, perched between the echo of past glory and the promise of a new legend taking shape in real time. Is Gabe Madsen the next splash? The next kingmaker? Or just a mirage flashing bright before the ruthless grind of NBA reality sets in? Only time will write that story, but damn, the ink is still wet and it's dripping with electric tension. Now, I want to hear it from the heart of the faithful. Drop your boldest, no-holds-barred take right here. Who do you see shaping this Warriors' future? Are we witnessing the next dynasty's architect or the last gaffe of a fading empire? Get raw. Get real. I'm reading every word, receipts ready, and the fire of Dub Nation's spirit burned hotter than ever.